The Iron Game Chalk Talk podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors: EliteForm.com and IgnitionAPG.com. And now, the Iron Game Chalk Talk podcast. Welcome to Iron Game Chalk Talk with your host, Ron McKeefery.
Every time our athletes walk into this weight room, they're going to be pushed to the max.
Let's go! Everything you got!
On this podcast, hear Coach McKeefery's straight talk about training, featuring the top strength and conditioning professionals from around the world. And now, here's your host, Ron McKeefery.
Hey guys, welcome back to Iron Game Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Ron McKeefery, and this is episode number 61. Iron Game Chalk Talk is a weekly podcast where I bring you experts in the field to talk shop. If you're not already done so, make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes or YouTube, or join the mailing list at ronmckeefery.com so that you can get updates each week on anything that we have going on, as well as the latest episode. This week, excited to have Mladen Jovanovich. Mladen is a physical preparation coach from Belgrade, Serbia, and just he's the owner or the guy that's created complementarytraining.net. If you've not checked out his blog, complementarytraining.net is one of the best ones out there in my opinion, and he does a fantastic job of making the complex simple for the rest of us. And so we get into that a little bit. We talk about his ability to be able to do that, where complementary training kind of came from, what was his goal and purpose behind that, and the story behind the name of it, as well as one of the things he blogs about is the Intensity Trinity, and so I wanted him to go in a little bit about that, as well as some of the things he's got going on. He's the physical prep coach for Hammarby football in Sweden, and he has a handful of other things going on. So we get a little bit about program design and things along those lines. So real excited for you guys to check out this episode. Before we do, though, we want to make sure we recognize our sponsors, EliteForm.com and IgnitionAPG.com. And we talk about these guys each week, but please reach out to these guys and let them know how much you appreciate them bringing these shows to you completely for free, and their commitment to helping continually make our profession better. But Ignition APG is a sports performance company based in Cincinnati, doing some fantastic things. They have products, they have supplementation, they have training. But one of the things that with their training, their pro training, they just got back from doing some vet training down in Naples, Florida, where they've gotten obviously lots of media attention for that. But they also put on one of their speed certifications down there simultaneously. And if you've not checked out their speed certification, I did it last year. Fantastic certification, led by some great guys doing it the right way. So make sure you check out IgnitionAPG.com for more information. Lastly, if you like these podcasts, you will definitely like strength-ondemand.com. Strength on Demand is a online archive of strength and conditioning clinic presentations that myself and Rob Taylor put together. I highly encourage you to check that out. It's a way to continually sharpen the sword on your own time. 50-plus strength and conditioning presentations on there and growing, and only $97, so cheaper than the average clinic, but 50-plus presentations. So lifetime membership, $97. Make sure to check that out. I know that you'll really enjoy it. So let's get to Mladen. Fantastic person, great guy. Excited for you guys to check out this episode. All right, guys, real excited to have Mladen Jovanovich with us. I'm a big fan of his. He's got complementarytraining.com, and it really does some great work. And if you haven't checked out his site, please do, because it's unbelievable. And it's been something that Mladen, we've used with our interns quite a bit to try to make the complex simple. And you do a fantastic job of that. We'll get into that, but for the people that don't know you as well, please go into your background and kind of where you're at now and how you got there.
Hi, Ron, first of all, and thanks for having me over.
That's awesome, man. Thanks.
Yeah, it's pretty usual story, finishing faculty as a strength conditioning coach here in Belgrade. On a final year, we call when you take when you listen to all the lectures, we have 1 year to do a final paper, and then I started basically interning at a Partizan basketball club with a professor of mine, Mladen Jovanovich. I think I posted a couple of articles of him. He's one of probably the best teachers on the faculty. He teach basically training theory and periodization. So he took a couple of us students and created some form of internship with the Partizan basketball club, now winning the national league. So I was with cadets, which is I think under 17, for a year or two, and then I got an offer to work as a strength conditioning coach in a professional soccer club here in Belgrade called Rad, which directly translated means work, and so basically that's how everything started up. I've been there for a year. Then a little bit ups and downs, working in a tennis club, and eventually finishing up with in a Fenerbahce volleyball team where I've been working with Anja Spasovic, who was a ex-member of our national team, volleyball national team, women, and there I met my best man. He's now my best man, Vladimir Grbic, who is a Hall of Fame volleyball player. So I've been working with him in his last year in Fenerbahce volleyball club in Istanbul. After that, I've been here in Serbia in one again women volleyball club for a year. That was 2009. 2010, I was doing internship at Mike Boyle's in Woburn. Summer 2010, right? And came back over to Serbia again, going back to FC Rad, this time playing in a first national division. We managed to finish fourth, also played qualifications for Europa League, which is one of the highest achievements in the club in the recent history. Then I got an offer from Darcy Norman from AP, Athletes Performance, now Exos, to help out Greg Berhalter in Hammarby, Stockholm, which I wholeheartedly accepted, and I've been there for 2 years since November 2013, so last year. And now I'm back to Belgrade, waiting for a baby anytime, and taking some time to read and catch up,
awesome.
Doing some consultations and some private trainings and stuff like that until something big emerges. That's pretty much the story. Yeah.
This is your first baby, right?
Yep.
Awesome, man. I'm excited for you, brother. That's fantastic.
Thanks.
That's the greatest job in the world, being a dad, no doubt about it, and that's fantastic. Well, man, you've had a well-rounded experience, and talk a little bit about why you chose to go over to Mike's. I mean, and get maybe come to the United States and spend time with Mike, and then obviously what that's been able to do for you going back over.
Yeah, I think that's a major leap in my career, if I can say, and I know Mike for some time from. First off, I read his book, the functional training
coach,
for sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was also a member at the late Charlie Francis Forum, so we corresponded a bit. Mm-hmm. And I went to his site a couple of times, also on the forum. And back then, I was a student, even before a couple of years before coming to Woburn, 2010. He actually sent me Functional Strength Coach 1 and Functional Strength Coach 2 DVDs for free. And I needed to pay him back, if that makes sense. And I thought it's a great opportunity to come over. He offered a place to stay with other interns, and it was a great opportunity to experience a bit of his way of doing things. And it was a summer. I was basically free. Had some extra money to spend, and so I decided to visit Boston and stay there for a couple of months.
Mike's a fantastic person, isn't he? And that's what it's all about in this field. And you don't get to where any of us get to where we've been or what we've done without mentors along the way. And he's definitely Charlie Francis is another for sure. You know, you started a website, complementarytraining.com. Talk a little bit about how, why, what was the motivation behind starting that, and then, how you found time to put out such great material while doing, obviously, a full-time job and then some, being a strength coach.
Yeah, I started it after finishing with the internship. Actually, I started it while I was in Boston. So the first version was simple blog. We just recently moved it to a WordPress membership site. If that sounds right. Yeah, I mean, I've been writing articles for Elite FTS back then. Also, I've been basically using different forums to publish some of my thoughts, and everybody started blogging back then, and I decided, let's give it a shot. Just put my thoughts, on one page so everybody can come over and discuss and maybe share. So that's how everything started. And the name Complementary basically comes from my philosophical quest to understand certain things, not only in sports science and training, but I would say space and time, if that makes sense. So I've been reading and watching some, documentaries on Dawkins and evolution and cosmos and all that stuff. And I was trying to find something that bring all those different aspects in one unifying theory. And then I, researching a bit about philosophy, I started identifying similar problems in strength training, like volume, intensity, and all that stuff that keeps fighting for focus, if that makes sense. So, and complementary philosophy was some type of a vehicle for me to kind of blend different opposing aspects of training, like variety and focus,
right?
Some periodization, again, aspects that we think as different or opposing. It's basically a yin-yang philosophy, just different name, if that makes sense.
No, that's fantastic. It's you've done a great job in your writing. Because I've read you not only on your own website, but some of those other forums that you talk about. But you do a fantastic job of taking the complex and making it simple and digestible to read and understand. And so I've used a lot of your articles with our interns, and personally I've benefited and appreciated those as well. How does that happen for you? There's tons of research where you're really taking the time to digest and bring in all this information. You're able to disseminate it in that way, or is it maybe through your mentors or a group of colleagues that you're able to discuss and then you're able to present? How's that coming about?
To be honest, I'm not so sure. It's just like, trying to understand certain things and certain dilemmas in training. And I think as a strength conditioning coach, you need to learn from a bunch of different sports. So, you read stuff on bodybuilding, strength training, powerlifting, weightlifting, endurance training, and you try to make sense from all of it and some kind of identify common denominator. And then you start to see certain knowledge threads or between the different areas. So even if those coaches from, let's say, weightlifting don't get much from endurance training, there's certain ideas that are common between them, certain dilemmas. And again, I try to bring them under the umbrella of complementary aspect, complementary approach. So, I read a bunch of books from, boxing, judo training to stretching. So pretty much that's the thing. And, forums were being great. Now I think the forums are a bit kind of dead.
Right.
Because everybody has a blog and, you can keep following people on Twitter and Facebook. But back then, forums were a big thing. Right. Some of them are still alive, and most of them are dead, right? So, you see the discussions on the forum, you try to dig more into it, and, pretty much that's how things happen. The unlucky thing was here in Serbia. It was tricky to order books from UK or America. So we usually contact the authors and ask for free material. And then one of the first who sent me a book was actually Stuart McGill.
Yeah.
He sent me Ultimate Back Fitness and Performance. And also Martin Rooney. He was at Parisi Speed School back then, I think.
Yeah.
And he also sent me a Parisi Speed DVDs for free. I think I was like 23, 24 back then. Broke college student. No money and no way to get the knowledge here in Serbia. So we also have a customs issues. So if you order books, one time I ordered a couple of books, maybe $20 worth on soccer training, and I paid customs like $100.
Oh wow!
So it's a bit tricky, and it's a tricky issue, especially if you order more expensive books.
Yeah.
Or DVDs. Plus, we don't have a PayPal.
Yeah.
So we couldn't order, actually. Even if you had money to pay, you couldn't order it.
Really?
So it was a hard thing to try to avoid that stuff. So,
well, that's an important lesson, and that's something that we preach quite a bit, especially to young strength coaches, is that, you can only ask. I mean, people say no, the worst they can do is say no sometimes, but
yeah.
As far as that's to go visit or go, look at a manual or material or products or whatever, having the guts a lot of times just to reach out to those mentors and to those people, people don't do that. Yeah. And, so we do things with like our interns as far as forcing them to go take a site visit and things like that, because, that's how you start to develop relationships and you start to break down that fear of reaching out to people. And it's such an important note. I'm glad you brought that up. One of the articles you wrote, you talked about the intensity Trinity. Can you expand on that a little bit, define what that is, and a little bit about, load exertion, velocity exertion, things like that?
So basically, I think there's a big confusion with the terminology, not only in strength training, but in training in general. So intensity was something that's pretty tricky for people to understand. Mm. And I try to, first of all, understand it for myself. So I come up with that intensity Trinity idea by playing basically with the GMR, which is a linear position transducer, and playing with velocity and velocity readings. And I think that's a pretty neat way to grasp the concept of intensity and intensiveness. So basically, exercise Trinity is comprised of load. Which could be absolute load. That's basically the weight on the barbell.
Yeah.
It could be expressed in absolute terms, like 100 kilos, or relative as a percentage of 1 RM. Then we have effort. Usually it's intent to lift fast or in the concentric range. It could be maximal, so sometimes it's called CAT, right? Compensatory acceleratory training. Mm-hmm. Your intent is to lift as fast as possible, or submaximal if you use some way of if you use certain tempo training, like 3 seconds down, 2 seconds up, or stuff like that.
Right. And
then we have exhaustion. Exhaustion level is basically proximity to failure. So you can, for example, if my bench press 1 RM is 120 kilos, and I think that's around 300 pounds, mm-hmm. or slightly less. I can lift it for 1 rep. That's 1 RM, right? But if I use 80% of that, that's around 100 kilos. And I could probably lift it for 6 or 7 reps. Mm-hmm. So if I take 80 kilos, intensity is 80 kilos, right? And if I try to lift it slowly, then intent or effort is submaximal. If I try to lift it maximally, that's again maximal intent. And if I do 2 reps, that's around 3 reps left in the tank, so 3 reps of 6. So my exhaustion level is submaximal, and if I do it all the way to the failure, then I did maximal exhaustion, right? So I did 6 reps out of 6 possible.
Right.
So basically, in training we need to juggle with all those 3 components of intensity, and that's only intensity. Then we have a volume and density and frequency and all that stuff. So that's my way to explain the concept of, intensity of a given set, basically.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. You talked earlier about spending time over in the United States, and I get a lot of questions. There's people that watch the show from all around the world, and about breaking into the United States, strength and conditioning, and or vice versa. Coaches in the States wanting to break into strength and conditioning on a global standpoint, and I know with obviously your travels and traveling all over the world and doing strength and conditioning, as well as with me having been NFL Europe and adopting 3 kids from the Ukraine and some of the things that I've done. I think if we're not taking a global approach to learning and the potential within the field, I think we're missing the boat. But what recommendations would you have for coaches from around the world wanting to break into the United States, and what would you tell them to do?
Definitely do an internship. So I think that's the biggest thing to do. But for us, coming over from I would say poor countries, most of the internships are unpaid, and so you need to have some money. I mean, for everything you need to have some money, and that's one of the drawbacks. So you need to pay for a ticket and stay, and probably do work for nothing. But it's worth it, definitely. So instead of going for a summer break or summer vacation, take that money and contact someone. Probably for the guys coming over from poor countries, probably someone can help you out, maybe give you some accommodation as Mike Boyle did, and that was a huge thing. Basically reach out, as you said, contact coaches and try to get your ass over there, and basically it's about also being seen. You can have the best skills in the world if you're not there, if no one sees you coaching, working.
It's a great point.
You can send a lot of emails, but you need to, bring your butt over.
That's correct. That's absolutely right. What about the reverse of that? What would you say? What would be your advice to a strength coach from the United States wanting to take on more of a global approach and specifically like you mentioned the handball, and you mentioned some of the sports that maybe aren't as popular in the United States, but getting experience with those sports. I mean, obviously doing an internship, but what steps would you take in terms of having them reach out to different coaches, or what are some of the best opportunities?
That's a bit tricky to answer because I haven't been I didn't have a skin in a game in that case. But I would say, building networks and trying to find someone who knows someone, or just asking your Facebook friends or on a forum.
Sure.
And probably someone can direct you to a right position in Europe. I think internships are bigger deal in the States than in Europe. But I think UK has also similar culture when it comes to internships. Internships are completely unknown here in Serbia, especially in the clubs. I mean, you can get in basically doing stuff for free. Usually, always do stuff for free, even in the big clubs. Right. Sometimes you don't get paid for a couple of months. But internships are not that thing in Europe, as far as I'm familiar with.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone can correct me, but I think they're a bigger deal in the States.
Sure. With your training, with what you're doing right now, what does a normal training session look like? You know, I mean, are they coming in, they're doing some sort of dynamic warm up, and then they're going through, you know, some sort of stretch? What's a normal day look like for you?
Let's say when I was in Stockholm in Hammarby, so we basically come over around 8 in the morning. We were lucky to have like a restaurant, team restaurant, basically inside the building. So we had a breakfast with the guys. The coaching staff usually comes a bit earlier, 2 hours before or 1 hour and 30 minutes before players are obligated to come over. Maybe going over with you know the talk with the head coach and PTs. If there is a gym session, and usually in soccer it's probably once or twice a week, maybe more if you're dealing with injured guys. So basically, just going over the planned session with the head coach, deciding on the warm up. We usually have like 6 or more versions of the warm up, and we just keep them, you know, rotate them. So I was mostly in charge of the warm up, and that's a reality in working in a soccer clubs.
Yeah.
You know, dealing with setting up cones and removing cones, and you know, occasionally doing a gym session. Also dealing with injured guys. So basically, you know, preparing a warm up, and that's usually, depending on a session, usually around 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes even less. Again, depends on the facility and the culture in the squad. Some guys love to have individualized pre-training session, like the foam rolling on their own, or doing some prehab stuff before actually coming out to a pitch. But we try to implement that with more or less success. But basically, you know, going out, doing some form of we used to do like a 2-lap jog, not because it's effective, but the guys come in and they start talking.
Yeah.
So you kind of want them to, so you want them to jog and talk and get into a certain mental state for a training.
Right.
We might do some short stretching or you know, just hips and stuff like that, and maybe some, you know, band work, activation, glutes, core and stuff. And we basically finish up with maybe 10 minutes of dynamic work, maybe agility ladder and small hurdles, all that stuff. The tricky part is to keep it not boring, but it usually gets boring. You know, I just read a great quote in a book. It said warm up is like flossing your teeth. Everybody knows it's healthy, but it's boring to do, right? So it's pretty much the same. So you still want to have a routine that, you know, you can trust, and you know you can get the players ready, but also make it a bit variable so it doesn't get too much boring, and it will get boring over time because you have 8 months and you do it every single day. So I've been struggling with it, and the players been struggling with it, but at the end they appreciate it because I kept I stand the ground, if that makes sense. So I wasn't trying to do much Spanish stuff with the ball, so we did the same things, and I was expecting and always pushing certain things to be done. So again, you can see in a simple warm-up, we had 2 complementary aspects. So we had stuff, you know, stability, because you want to trust your routine.
Right.
You want to develop certain routine. Also, it's a mental thing, and also it's a routine you can trust. But also you need to give some variability inside the routine, so you avoid the boredom.
Absolutely.
So it's a fight between stability and variability, even in the warm-up.
It's funny you say that. I've been having that same discussion with my staff lately. Same discussion.
In real life.
What about like a training session, an actual lifting session? When they come into the gym, what's that look like?
We usually did it in the morning before a soccer session. Usually had a couple of hours in between.
Okay.
we had a really, really small gym with 3 squat racks. So we split the guys. We have around 30 players, so we split them in 3 groups.
Okay.
So basically, because it's a morning session, we need to do some warm-up. We usually did a ground-based warm-up, plug in some prehab stuff, core, and, glute stuff. We also have been testing for, vertical jump power using a gym hour unit.
Yeah.
So we also needed to prepare the guys for a maximal jump. And we did it with a 20-kilo barbell.
Okay.
So, after the ground-based mobility for 10, 12 minutes, we did some, the squats with the barbell, the bouncy squat, I don't know how you call it, like a wave squat, where you go on your toes, a bit rhythmical squats, and then finish up with a couple of sub-max jumps. And basically then we just call the guys to do a squat jump. And we measure, we usually did 5 jumps and measure average of 5 jumps, concentric mean power using a gym hour unit.
You would do that once a week or every session?
Once a week, yeah.
Okay.
Every time we had a session, basically. So we did it as a part of a warm-up.
Okay.
And
you're looking for just some overload markers, or what are you looking for?
We look for a trend, if that makes sense. So we take it weekly and we see what's happening with the power. And there's a lot of I don't think we have sorted out the monitoring thing. There's a lot of pros and cons of doing it with a barbell. Basically, we had a short ceiling, and if we especially if our goalkeepers jump with a broomstick, they can hit the ceiling.
Really?
So they wouldn't jump high. So, and also with the broom, because gym aware is a LPT linear position transducer, it has a tension line. So I think the reliability of doing it with the broomstick, it's a bit low.
Yeah.
One solution is to put the unit overhead, so the line goes, midline.
Yep.
But because we had the issue with the ceiling, we couldn't do it, so we needed to do it with the barbell. I know Dan Baker does it with 20-kilo barbell, but those are rugby players, right?
Yeah.
So that was something we tried to do to see what's happening with concentric mean power, and the question is also, is that sensitive to fatigue? I mean, we still don't know, to be honest.
Yeah.
And after that, we usually had
the assumption is that it is.
Yeah. Yeah. After that, we had basically 2 circuits, and in each circuit we had maybe two main exercises and fillers. So if you keep the guys, resting for 3 minutes between the lifts, they start talking.
Yep.
So it's more about productivity than some special biology or adaptation involved. So I try to hit, in the first circuit, the main exercise was usually the squat. Maybe we did some, pull-ups on the rings or, calves, stuff like you can cover, but doesn't influence the squat.
Yep.
And in the second circuit is usually the bench press, and we did some assistant stuff for legs. I think I posted the whole workout as it was in Elite FTS ebook, the charity book.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And to be precise, I'll be posting it on a blog in a couple of weeks, maybe, because it's scheduled to be posted on a blog.
Let me know when. I'll make sure to link it to this.
Yeah. So the exact program will be available, and as you will see, it's not anything fancy.
Yeah.
And usually it's the equipment that limits you, not the biology.
And
so it's you need to take the constraints into account. We had 3 squat racks pretty close by, and we had red cord that's similar to TRX, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And we didn't have a pull-up, so we had to do it on a TRX because we had some hooks on the ceilings. So we use that for pull-ups instead of pull-up bar.
Now, you mentioned the gym wear. Are you using any other kind of technology, catapult or anything like that?
I've been lucky to get my hands on certain technologies in Sweden, and I would probably never be able to do it in Serbia. So I was lucky to be in Sweden, and it was like a blessing for me to be able to try to play with the technology.
Right.
And we had 2 catapult units. So I've been, learning how to use it and quickly get a grasp how the software works and, all the details of the software and maybe some issues also. We also had a jump mat, it's called Chrono Jump. It's one of the cheapest jump mats on the market, Spanish brand. Also been playing with urine specific gravity. So we've been measuring urine of the players. Sounds funny, but we were taking a pee with I can't find the right word in English. The pipe, right?
Yeah.
And can't remember different technology we'd be trying to use. Yeah, and Polar Team
2.
Team 2, yeah. I've been using that for a couple of years. Actually been starting up with that one. And to be honest, players didn't like any type of straps, and they've been pitching all the time.
Yeah, they usually do. It doesn't change from anywhere.
Yeah.
I think that a couple ounce strap is going to hold them down for sure.
Yeah. And but to be honest, it doesn't give you much. So we've been playing with it, and I've been developing certain templates in Excel. The first year was the template was pretty crappy,
right.
and the next season I've been over time developing Excel skills, so I made a better version.
Yeah, you got a couple products on your website with Excel, but where does that come from? I mean, I'm assuming you were kind of self-taught yourself Excel. Where were you looking to kind of learn and grow? 'Cause you're doing some really cool things with it for sure.
Yeah, the Excel was basically trial and error. So I've been trying to build some stuff, and then you think about different solution, different visualization, different stuff. Then you Google it, and then you stumble on a book, and then you read the book. So basically just, self-learning. It's like, what's the name of the movie? Good Will Hunting, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to go to special school or college. The knowledge is already there. You just need to, Google and pick up a decent book.
Well, again, I mean, it's just another great point. It doesn't really matter where you're at or who you are or what level of skill you have. I mean, constantly seeking out and having the guts to go and look for answers is a common denominator in everything that you've mentioned today. And I think that's such something, it's one of the first assignments that I have our interns do is replicate our card in Excel. Because when I first got to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, this is way back when, but I didn't know Excel that well, but it's a huge tool. And so I'd go until I got stuck. I'd walk in there and say, how do you do this? And they'd show me, and I'd go back and I'd go until I got stuck again, so great lessons there for sure.
That's one of the complementary skills I've been mentioning. It's Excel. It's not directly coaching or related to coaching, but it makes your coaching easier.
No doubt. Anytime you can give time back to the coach is well worth the investment.
My friend and a PT at Hammarby was making fun of me because every time I made a product, or not product, but like a template, I always try to make it better.
Right.
So one day I come up, I got it. I got a solution. Then 2 weeks later, crap, this could be made better. It's like, you're ever going to finish it? But basically, that's how you learn. And when you have a skin in a game, instead of just listening to lectures, when you try to solve the problem at hand, the problem you have,
right,
the knowledge will sink a lot better. Instead of just using some, general templates or trying to learn. And most of the stuff that, most of the books on Excel comes from finance and BI, business intelligence.
Yep.
And coaches cannot relate to those, problems or formulas. So luckily we have John Light from New Zealand. He has a great YouTube channel.
Really?
I think Excel Tricks for Sport. So he basically use all those business intelligence approach and, take examples from sport. And it's a excellent channel for everyone who wants to learn Excel.
Well, that's a great recommendation right there. Well, buddy, I know it's late over there, and well, this has been fantastic. We could talk for hours, but we always end these shows with some recommendations and a quote. So, give us a quote to inspire us.
There was a quote on my old blog called "Contraria sunt complementa," which is Latin. Say, "Contrarias are complementary," and it comes from Niels Bohr, who is a nuclear physicist. So I think that's one of the quotes I live by.
That's awesome.
Also loves a lot of quotes from Stoics and Stoic philosophy. But basically, Niels Bohr is one of the most useful in using complementary aspect.
Well, that's it sums up obviously what you do in your personal and professional life. But we talk on the show quite about when I speak about our program, I always say that I'm principle based, not philosophy based. I'm a principle based strength coach. So when we talk overload and progression, I can talk overload and progression with any strength coach. We don't have to. We don't always agree, but we can talk about it. And that's I think that's the key to being complementary is having an open mind and exposing yourself to things outside of the strength and conditioning box. And so you mentioned business intelligence and philosophy, and I think as strength coaches and as we evolve, that's got to be continued to be the case.
And as you can see, for example, Mike Ball posts a lot of books on business, and I think that the most clubs, like pro clubs in Europe, are like teenagers winning lottery, so they don't know what to do with the money.
Right.
Most of them, not all, a lot of them. So basically, we as a strength conditioning coach can learn a lot from project management, all that stuff. It's already developed in a business. We just need to take some out of it.
I agree 100%.
We tend to learn from old Russian books about periodization, but most of the stuff about organization and logistics is already there.
Right.
We just need to start looking around the corner instead of just trying to go straight, and maybe start reading books about business.
Absolutely.
And managing people. Basically, it's the same everywhere.
Absolutely. You said it early on that having a understanding or having the best program on paper doesn't mean that you're going to be the best strength coach. You've got to be able to motivate and get your athletes to do that great program, and a lot of those skills are what you didn't learn in school. You didn't go to management school, and you didn't go to leadership school. You went and learned about exercise science. And
exactly.
That's the true art in coaching is having the ability to motivate people to do some things that's not necessarily comfortable.
Yeah, hence the recommendation for a book.
Great.
And I really like Heat Brothers. They have a book, the Switch and Made to Stick.
Yeah.
So
Decisive is the third one. That's a great one as well.
Yeah, I haven't read that one, but it's on my book list.
Yeah.
And both of them are great.
There you go. There's Switch. there's Made to Stick.
Yeah. There's one book, I think, from different authors called The Influencer. And they also have Crucial Conversation and Crucial Confrontations.
Yeah.
And I think we also need to learn about a lot about conflict management.
Absolutely.
Because you don't learn about that in school. I'm not the best guy to talk about, or not the best example, but I can pinpoint to my weaknesses, if that makes sense. And managing conflict is something that me as a coach needs to learn more how to manage it.
What was that book again? You said Confrontation?
I think, Crucial Confrontations.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that one out.
Those are the same authors. Influencer, Crucial Conversation, and Crucial Confrontations.
Okay, I'll look that up for sure. What about when you're surfing the web and you're traveling or whatever? Maybe a website and an app that you use.
So websites, I have a list over here.
Okay, yeah, good.
I can send you the complete list after.
That'd be great.
So one of the websites I visit regularly is Coursera, because it gives free courses.
What was it again?
Coursera.org.
Okay.
It gives free courses, mostly from biology, finance, economics, and one of the best courses you can take as a human being is a course by Dan Ariely. He wrote Predictably Irrational. So it's a course on irrational behavior. So Coursera is one of the best websites recently, and I've been learning statistics from Coursera. There's a couple of courses.
Spell it for me.
Coursera. Coursera.
Okay, great. That's great. That's great, Joe.
Yeah, then we have Mike Tusher, his website.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the guy, and I think I owe him a lot. His book was awesome and pretty kind of, changing the way I look at training, especially strength training. There's Elite FTS, of course. Lyle McDonald's bodyrecomposition.com if you're interested in nutrition, but he writes more than just nutrition.
Yep.
I hope he collects all his articles in a book soon, because that's going to be a really good buy. There's Dan Baker's website. He doesn't post too much, but you can find some good info on it. Martin Boucher from France.
Yep.
He has a website, blog. Actually, he recently started posting. He posts most of his research, so it's also interesting, especially when it comes to monitoring. He's big on HRV and high intensity training, conditioning. Also, forgot to mention I'm just started reading a book edited by David Joyce and Daniel Levendon, High Performance Training for Sports.
Yeah, David Joyce is going to be on the show here pretty soon. I'm excited to get that as well.
It's awesome book. I mean, don't wait for reviews, just go and buy. That's all I can say. Regarding apps, Dropbox, definitely.
Fantastic.
We've been running the whole stuff on Dropbox. If you don't have money for a big athlete management software, Dropbox is a starting point. Also been using GymAware. They have two versions of apps. One is Lite, one is Pro. I mean, you can't use it without the unit.
Right.
There's a good timer called Seconds Pro. So it's great for setting up the different timers, especially for HIIT conditioning, and maybe. For example, warm-ups. If you foam roll, you can say the location, like 30 seconds foam roll calls, and then.
Oh yeah.
So you make it automatic. You can forget. It's about making coaching easier, so you can forget about holding a stopwatch and, hey, I was talking to Johnny. The time went off. So, and you can focus on the athlete and leave the timing to app. Also use Dartfish Express for video analysis.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's cheap and gets the job done. There's a couple of free versions, Coach's Eye, and I think there's one more. I think Coach's Eye is also paid, but
Coach's
there's one
one
free.
that I use, yeah.
There's an interesting app called Goniometry. You can use your iPhone to measure joint angles.
Really?
So I mean, my iPhone is in a different room, but if you didn't notice, you have a compass app in an iPhone, and you can measure the angles. So if you for example do a Thomas test, you can put the iPhone on the thigh, set up the starting angle, and then stretch, and then the app calculates the range of movement basically.
Wow, I have to check that one out.
And it is J Goniometry. It's the name of the app.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that one out.
There's also one app that has all the beep tests inside, called the Bleep test. So I've been using that for all the beep tests. The thing is, you can put, your squad inside. You have animation, so you can pretty see where they are at the cones, and you can tag the players, you get the report immediately. You can send it over email or export it to Excel. And speaking of that, I just tweeted to Martin Boucher the idea of making a iPhone app when it comes to 30-15 big test he developed.
That's good.
It's about making life of coaches easier. So one thing is to take the information out there, but other thing is to make it easier for coaches to apply. And I'm trying to do that with the products on my website and maybe with some advices.
Absolutely. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, we talk about it quite a bit on the show, but and that's a lot of the reason why I ask for apps and website recommendations, things like that. And people, sometimes people bat an eye at that, but the reality is that I remember, first year coaching, taking, in Excel, typing in all the very first 40 reps and then all the second 40 reps and then taking a calculator out and calculating the average. Instead of just taking the little equation and dragging it down. And that's time wasted. That's time wasted. And so by getting outside of your box and learning about skills outside of strength and conditioning, you're going to become a better strength coach. And learning about technology, it's created for a reason. It's created to help make our lives better. And so, reaching out and trying to find things along those lines. And you gave some great recommendations there. So I appreciate that, man.
No, anytime.
Well, Mladen, I know it's late, man, and we've been going for a while, but I truly appreciate you coming on the show, man. I really do enjoy your website quite a bit and things that you're doing, and I would encourage everybody to reach out and check out your products. You got a couple of Excel products on your page and things like that. But it's so cool seeing how the world's shrinking its borders and being able to have a conversation with a guy over in Serbia that's a hell of a strength coach, and really, truly appreciate it, man.
Thanks a lot, Ron.
That's it for this episode of Iron Game Chalk Talk. Thanks to this week's guest as well as our sponsors, EliteForm.com and IgnitionAPG.com, for bringing this episode to you for free. Make sure to check out RonMcKeefery.com, where you can join our mailing list, find the show notes, including all the links and resources mentioned, and information about Coach McKeefery's other products. While you are there, please join Coach McKeefery in the comments section thanking our guest for sharing. If you haven't subscribed to Iron Game Chalk Talk on YouTube or iTunes yet, make sure to do so. Comments, ratings, and reviews are always welcome. Coach McKeefery can be found on Twitter at @RMcKeefery, on Facebook and YouTube at /Ron.McKeefery. That's it for this week. Be sure to check back next week for another great episode of Iron Game Chalk Talk.